Okay, so let's unpack this. It is Thursday, February 26th, 2026. And the economic backdrop right now is, well, let's be polite and call it cooling.
Yeah, cooling is a nice word for it.
Right. The Fed is shifting rates. The labor market is softening just enough to make people nervous. And for a lot of people listening right now, the financial pressure isn't abstract. It's sitting right there on your home screen.
It absolutely is. And if you are tuning into this deep dive today, you might be staring at a specific number that just makes your stomach turn. Let's say, hypothetically, it is $18,432 in credit card debt.
Oof. That is a very specific, very painful number.
It is. And because we are living in 2026, that debt is not cheap. You're likely carrying a 24% APR. That is a heavy anchor to drag around every month.
I mean, there's not just an anchor. That is a mathematical emergency.
Exactly. But look, today isn't about lecturing you on how you bought too many lattes in 2025. We are past that. That's not helpful. Today is about finding a mathematical exit ramp. Because right now, the exit ramps available to you are split between two radically different financial religions.
I really love that framing from the source material. Two religions. On one side, we have what they're calling the ecosystem of the elite. That's SoFi. And on the other side, we have the AI algorithm for the rest of us, which is Upstart.
Right. And here is why auditing these two matters so much. We aren't just comparing user interfaces or, which app has a better dark mode. We are performing a brutal audit based on lending data from the last year across about 140 borrower profiles. The stakes here are incredibly high.
How high are we talking? Give me the actual damage if you choose the wrong one.
Choosing the wrong provider isn't just a minor annoyance. It is a calculation error that could cost you an additional $2,156 in fees and interest over the life of a typical 3-year loan.
Hold on a second. $2,000. That is a vacation or a significant chunk of a starter emergency fund. That's not a rounding error.
Precisely. So our mission today is to look at these two platforms, SoFi and Upstart, and figure out which one actually makes sense for your specific situation in this 2026 landscape. Because they are absolutely not interchangeable.
So let's dive right into part one, the philosophy. Because these aren't just banks swapping rates, they view the world fundamentally differently. We have the shield versus the neural network.
That's the core conflict. Traditional lending has always relied on the credit wall. You know the drill, the 3-digit FICO score. It is the gatekeeper. It's binary. You're either in or you're out.
And look, as the skeptical institutionalist here, I have to say, there is a reason that wall exists. It's proven. Banks aren't charities. They need to manage risk. And SoFi seems to be maintaining that tradition, just polishing it up a bit for the modern era. They are actively protecting that wall.
SoFi is definitely the defender of the credit wall. Upstart, on the other hand, is trying to climb over it using code.
Let's look at the SoFi strategy first. The sources describe it as a premium member model. It feels very exclusive, almost like a country club. When we look at the approval patterns for 2025, SoFi is clearly hunting for a very specific avatar, the reliable professional.
They want the prime borrower. They want the person who pays their bills on time, every time, and has the 10-year history to prove it.
Exactly. Now, they don't publish a strict minimum credit score on a billboard anywhere, but the data we have suggests that 682 is the soft floor.
Right, 682.
If you are below that 682 mark, you probably aren't getting the competitive rates. Or frankly, you just aren't getting in at all.
It's a very specific line in the sand.
It is. But here's the plus side for the institutional crowd. This is why I lean this way. If you do get in, it's not just a loan. It's a membership. You get access to financial planning. I saw a note in the audit about estate plan discounts.
Yeah, that caught my eye too.
Members are using these discounts to save $300 to $500 on legal fees, just to set up a trust or a will. Think about the psychology there. You're not just borrowing money to plug a hole, you're getting your entire financial house in order. It's a holistic, traditional banking relationship. They want to be your partner for life.
It really is very country club. But let's flip the coin to the futurist perspective. Let's talk about Upstart. Because if SoFi is the country club, Upstart is the counterculture.
The disruptor.
Right. Let's look at a case study from the source material to explain why this approach even exists. Meet James. He's a 26-year-old software developer living in Raleigh.
Okay, picturing James.
He is making a decent salary, $48,000 a year, which is solid for a starter role there. But here's the problem. James has 0 credit cards. He has no auto loan history. He is what the industry calls a thin file.
So in the eyes of a traditional bank, James doesn't exist. He is a financial ghost.
Exactly. Traditional banks laughed at him. They see no score. They say no loan. But Upstart didn't look at his FICO score because he didn't really have one. They looked at his computer science degree, they looked at his employment contract, and they approved a $10,000 consolidation loan at 12.4% APR.
Wait, they looked at his degree.
Yes, that is the secret sauce. Upstart analyzes over 1,000 data points, including where you went to school, what you studied, your job history, all to find high-potential borrowers that the FICO model completely misses.
Okay, I have to push back here. If an algorithm decides my rate based on where I went to college, is that better than a FICO score or just a different kind of bias?
That is the big question.
I mean, it sounds a little dystopian. Like, if you studied the wrong thing, say art history instead of computer science, you pay more interest.
Yeah.
That seems to lock people into boxes just as much as a 3-digit credit score does.
It's a totally valid concern. It really is. It's the ultimate debate between historical data, your credit history, which is what you did, and predictive data, your potential earnings, which is what you might do. Upstart argues that a CS degree predicts your ability to pay better than a blank credit report. They are betting on your future, not your past.
I suppose there's a certain logic there, but it feels like replacing one gatekeeper with a completely different black box. And we need to be incredibly clear for the listener here. This isn't magic, and it's not a charity. This depends entirely on the borrower's unique profile. Our analysis isn't a guarantee. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean the algorithm is going to love you.
Absolutely not. And because they take on these higher potential but lower history borrowers, the risk for them is higher. So while James got 12.4%, the average APR on Upstart can skew significantly higher than SoFi's prime offerings. They have to price in the unknown.
Which brings us to the part where the rubber meets the road, or rather, where the money leaves your bank account. Let's look at the hidden math here.
Yes, we need to define a concept called net liquidity.
Net liquidity. It sounds like corporate jargon, but break it down for us.
It's basically asking how much cash actually hits your pocket. Most people fixate on the monthly payment. They see $300 a month and think, I can afford that. But a fiscal realist looks at what they actually receive versus what they owe. And this is where the difference between SoFi and Upstart gets incredibly stark.
Right, because SoFi, operating as a chartered bank, generally charges $0 in origination fees. You ask for $20,000 to pay off your cards, they deposit $20,000. Simple.
Upstart is different. Because they are taking on that AI risk, the risk of betting on James the developer, they charge an origination fee. And that fee ranges from 0% all the way up to 12%. And that is subtracted directly from your loan proceeds before you even see it.
Okay, walk us through an example of the heavy end of that.
Yeah.
Because origination fee sounds like a small, harmless clerical charge.
It is not clerical. Let's focus on how a 12% origination fee can turn a low rate into a heavy burden very quickly. Let's say you need a $20,000 loan to wipe out those high-interest credit cards. You go to Upstart, the AI approves you, loves your profile, but it assigns a 12% origination fee.
Okay, 12% of $20,000. That's $2,400.
Right. So when the money lands in your account on Tuesday morning, you don't see $20,000, you see $17,600.
But you still owe the bank $20,000.
You owe the full $20,000. You pay interest every month on the full $20,000. That $2,400 just vanished. It is the price of admission for avoiding the FICO check.
That is a massive hit. If you needed exactly 20 grand to pay off American Express, you are short. You are holding a check that doesn't clear the balance.
Exactly. You would have to over-borrow to cover the fee itself, which means you are now paying interest on even more money. You have to check the total cost of credit disclosure very carefully with them.
That is such a crucial distinction. With SoFi, what you see is largely what you get. With Upstart, you have to do backward math to make sure you're actually getting the net liquidity you need to solve your problem.
It's the literal cost of disruption.
So moving on to part 3, the feature showdown. We are deep in the era of Gen AI lending now. Both of these platforms have updated their tech stacks, Vega logic, Cortex logic, lots of fancy marketing terms. But what does that actually mean for the user sitting on their couch?
Well, SoFi is really pushing the everything app concept. They want to be your financial hub. They don't just want your consolidation loan. They want your direct deposit, your savings account, your investing profile.
I noticed that in the data. It's the flywheel effect.
Yeah.
The source mentions that if members consolidate their debt with SoFi and then move their direct deposit over, they were getting 4.65% APY on their savings as of early 2026.
That is highly competitive. That beats a lot of traditional big banks right now.
It's more than competitive. It's a brilliant strategy for the borrower. Think about it. You take a loan to get out of debt. And then you immediately use their high-yield savings to build an emergency fund so you don't fall back into debt. Plus, they offer a 0.25% to 0.5% auto-pay discount.
It turns a debt exit into a wealth engine. That's their whole pitch.
Exactly. It feels like they are saying, let's fix this together.
Now, Upstart's feature set is less about banking perks and more about true risk pricing. They claim their AI predicts defaults 5 times better than FICO alone.
Which is a bold claim. 5 times better.
It is bold, but in this cooling 2026 economy we mentioned, it means they might actually offer you a lifeline when traditional banks are pulling back, simply because their code sees nuances the banks ignore. But there's a technicality we have to mention here. Upstart is a platform, not a bank.
Right. They match you with partners behind the scenes.
Exactly. They match you with credit unions or other institutions, so your actual servicing experience might vary depending on who holds the paper. You might play on the sleek Upstart app, but end up with a loan from some regional bank you've never heard of.
And that leads perfectly into the human factor. This is where I really lean towards SoFi. Life in 2026 is messy. People lose jobs. It's just a reality of the market right now.
It happens every day.
SoFi has this unemployment protection program. If you lose your job through no fault of your own, they pause your payments, they put the loan in forbearance. But they go even further. They actually help you with job placement. The sources say this is one of the highest-rated human features in the entire fintech space.
That's a fair point. That is a significant safety net. It acknowledges that life isn't a straight line.
Right. So what does Upstart do if you lose your job? Does the neural network care?
Upstart is, well, they are far more transactional. They offer the standard legally required hardship options, of course, but they aren't going to help you rewrite your resume. They aren't going to proactively pause payments just because you're having a bad month. Algorithms aren't really known for their empathy.
That's the trade-off. You get the innovative access, but you lose the human touch entirely.
You are choosing raw efficiency and access over a long-term relationship.
Okay, we've talked philosophy, we've talked features. Now we really need to talk about the lollipop trap.
The lollipop trap. Explain this one.
The sources mention that both companies have incredibly sleek apps. They make borrowing tens of thousands of dollars feel like ordering a pizza. Swipe right, get money. But we cannot let the user interface hide the mathematical reality.
Right. Let's do a strict paper comparison.
Let's do it. We have a specific case from the audit. We have a borrower who was pre-approved for 14.2% at SoFi. And that same borrower was pre-approved for 11.9% at Upstart.
Okay, stopping right there. On the surface, Upstart looks like the absolute clear winner. 11.9 is significantly lower than 14.2. Most people would click that Upstart button immediately.
But wait, we have to add the fee. In this exact case, Upstart charged a 5% origination fee. When you factor that into the math, the money you didn't get but still pay interest on, the true APR at Upstart jumped to 13.8%.
So it's 14.2% versus 13.8%.
The difference becomes completely negligible. It's basically a wash. You're talking about pennies a month.
But the SoFi loan came with 0 fees, that unemployment protection, and the high-yield savings access.
Exactly. You saved a fraction of a percent in headline interest, but you gave up the safety net and the banking perks. You took the shiny lollipop, the low initial rate, but you got the cavity, which is the fee, and the lack of support.
This is why you have to look at the total cost of capital, not just the giant font rate on the screen. The rate is a lollipop. The fee is the cavity.
That's a great way to put it. And again, I have to say it because I want you to be smart about this. This depends entirely on the borrower's unique profile. Our analysis isn't a guarantee. For some people, Upstart might still be the only option, or it might genuinely be the significantly cheaper option. But you have to do the math. Do not trust the headline number.
So what is the final verdict here? We've audited the models, the fees, and the features. Who actually wins in 2026?
If we look at the case for SoFi, it's pretty clear. If your credit score is 680 or higher, and you value a long-term relationship, SoFi is the gold standard. It's the winner for consolidation if you want a partner. No fees, great benefits, and a safety net.
I agree. If you can climb the credit wall, life is very good inside that garden, but there is a very strong case for Upstart. If you have been rejected by traditional banks, or if you are like James Decent Income thin file, maybe a recent grad or a recent immigrant, Upstart is the digital savior.
Even with that heavy origination fee.
Yes. Because think about the alternative. If you are sitting on 28% credit card debt, collapsing that into a 15% loan, even if you swallow a hefty origination fee, is still a massive win for your monthly cash flow. It stops the bleeding.
That is true. It's ultimately about access. SoFi is for optimization. Upstart is for access.
That's a perfect summary. One optimizes your wealth, the other gives you a ladder to start building it when the doors are locked.
So we've given you the verdict. Now let's give you the plan. The source material outlines a 7-day loan optimization plan. Let's run through it quickly so you know exactly what to do today.
Step 1 is the score audit. Check your FICO. If it is below 640, honestly, skip the SoFi application. It's likely a waste of time, and a hard inquiry will just ding your credit further. Know your zone before you apply.
Step 2 is the soft pull race. Check both rates on the same morning. Both of these platforms allow this without hurting your score. Get the numbers side by side. Don't guess, get the real data.
Step 3 is crucial, the net deposit calculation. For the Upstart offer, subtract that origination fee manually. Do you still have enough actual cash to pay off the debts you're targeting? Do not get caught short.
Step 4 is the ecosystem check. Look at SoFi's savings APY. If you aren't earning at least 4.4% on your savings somewhere else right now, switching your ecosystem to SoFi might actually be worth more over time than the loan difference itself.
That's a really good point. The interest on your cash reserves adds up fast.
And finally, step 5, the trigger. When you pick one, set your auto pay for 2 days before the actual due date. Never, ever miss that discount.
Automation is your absolute best friend here.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. We've looked at the elite club and the AI revolution.
We have, and it really comes down to where you stand in the modern data economy.
It does. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought. We talk a lot about privacy and data in the abstract, but when you are in debt, your data is your currency.
It absolutely is.
So ask yourself this. In the future of your financial life, is it better to be judged by a human bank manager who might offer empathy but completely lacks vision? Or is it better to be judged by a cold machine that offers zero empathy but might see opportunity where no one else will?
The machine might be the only one that actually opens the door.
Exactly. Something to mull over next time you log into your banking app. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
See you next time.